So I remember raising my hand when I was 9 years old, talking to my fourth grade teacher, and I said, when am I going to learn about money? And she says, we don't teach money at school. I said, why not? And she couldn't answer me, and she got very flustered. She said, sit down, take your seat. And then I got curious. I said, why don't we learn about money? She says, go ask your father. He's my boss. So my father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, I said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and says, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job. I said, but you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, you're supposed to just get a job. And I went, no. Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip the job part, But he says, if you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? And I said, why? That's Mike. So why ask him? He says, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. And I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. And I went, oh, what's the difference? He says, the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money, or they're no longer entrepreneurs. And he says an employee doesn't have to know anything about money, because the government will take care of them, the company will take care of them. But I took my dad's advice and I trundled over to Mike's father's office and knocked on his door, and I said, hey, I'm here, 9 years old. Teach me about money. He says, beat it, kid, But that's where the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad started. And finally, through persistence, my rich dad started teaching me about money on one condition. And that condition was he would never pay me. He says, the moment I pay you, you think like an employee. He says, that's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free. And 10 years later, when I was 19, I was now in school in New York, and I come back to Hawaii, and Rich Dad had bought the biggest piece of land smack dab in the middle of Waikiki Beach, and it just sold for $800 million. So that's how I learned about money.
And that's because he refused to accept a paycheck.
He says that the moment you accept a paycheck, your brain goes dead. He just got paid. He says, as long as you're hungry, you'll think. So that was the end of my school years, because I understood what a fake teacher is. A fake teacher is somebody who just wants a job and they'll teach anything. They teach how to shine shoes if you pay them more money. But they really don't know what they're teaching. For example, my calculus teacher, went to military school in New York, and I asked the teacher, I said, am I ever going to use this stuff? He goes, no. Said, why do you teach it? Because I get paid. I said, do you ever use it? He goes, no.
You are the Robin Hood of knowledge, because I see you giving this knowledge out, and
yeah.
Do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Robin?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know. Right. Keep them poor. They say, I can't afford it, or I can't do that. They go down. They become what they say. And I meet so many people, I can't afford it. You think I'm made of money?
Your mom used to say that. Your mom used to say that.
My dad.
Your dad.
My PhD dad, he says, what do you think I am, made of money? I can't afford that. And my rich dad would say, that's why he's poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time. Because this is an escape. It's an escape, you know what I mean? It's easy to say, I can't afford it. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I can't go to the gym. When you could go to the gym. No, I can't. Truth is, I'm just too lazy to go to the gym.
And you play it safe, and you don't introduce new risks into your life, and so...
I have job security.
Right. And your rich dad used to say what instead of, I can't afford it?
How can I afford it? How can I do that? What would it take, or why should I do that? He says that a question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. So when you say, I can't afford it, the mind shuts down, and you become what you say.
I had a guest on my show recently, and he said, poor people are selfish. Hit a lot of people below the belt. And he said, no, think about it. these people are selfish. They're always complaining about their problems. They're always focused
Yeah.
on their own
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
You agree with that,
Well, the way you get rich, you solve other people's problems.
right? That's how you create value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you could cure cancer today, you'd be a trillionaire. You'd be an instant trillionaire. Nah, I'm just too busy to work on that. I think I'll play golf instead.
Right. Yeah, and I was trained as an engineer, and science told me that none of this stuff works. But when I meditate and I practice yoga and I do these things, I do find pain leaving my body. So again, I have to ask myself, am I stuck in that poor dad mindset of believing everything everyone tells me and not making some decisions for myself?
Yeah. Well, when people ask, like, how did I get on Oprah? How did I write a book with Donald Trump, now President of the United States? Not that I'm endorsing him. He's much hated. Good man, though.
I want to talk about him.
But anyway, how could I have done that? Well, it wasn't my brain. It was, Oprah had me on the program because she's concerned also. Trump and I wrote the book together because we both had rich dads, and we both are advocates for financial education. And a lot of people just hate him because he's rich or he's obnoxious. He is obnoxious, I can't give it that. But we didn't get together for about money because we both had rich dads who taught us how to make money. Our schools don't teach that. Our schools teach almost the exact opposite of that. So anyway, how does a guy like me, a little kid with no money, it wasn't I was poor, we're very middle class, I think my father was making about $20,000 a year. And when I graduated from school, from college, I was making $120,000 a year. 6 times the amount he made. And I was 21 years old. And he goes, how'd you do that? I said, I didn't go to the same school you went to.
You used your mind in a different way.
No, I just followed my heart.
Okay.
I went to school to be a ship's officer to sail. So I sailed all over the world. And back this was in the 60s, if you sailed into the war zone, Vietnam, which I did, you got double the pay and no taxes. So that's how I was making $120,000 a year. And I come back, my father's still making $20,000 a year. I'm making $120K. And he can't understand it because he's a poor man in mind and in soul. He says, you've become like one of those rich guys. And I said, just because I have money? I'm in the war zone, I'm doing this. See, the reason, as you had, is it Lipton?
Bruce Lipton on my show.
Bruce Lipton.
Yeah.
He says poverty is passed on. It's taught in your families. And middle class is taught in families. And I was really happy that, he endorsed Rich Dad, Poor Dad on your program. Because he says, I was taught by a rich man. And so the people right now who are sitting at home, who are struggling financially or worried about money or unhappy, they may be making a lot of money, but unhappy with what they're doing, it was probably taught to you. Your super ego was taught, get a job, work hard, or you'll never be rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever.
And until you change your mindset,
Correct.
Money won't help you, right?
Correct.
And we see that with people that win the lottery, people that make more money, they still have the same problem.
Right.
Because they have that poor man's soul.
Correct. If you're poor, you'll always be poor.